Hello and welcome to Doing Time, where humans talk about their experiences in a psych word. Today we have guest Nomi Willis, my good friend. How are you?
I'm good.
You're good? Hell yeah. Cheers, dude.
Cheers.
Take a sip. So the first question I always ask on the pod is, how much time have you done? And that's like in group therapy, psych ward, that type of stuff.
Do you mean like how long have I been in therapy? Because the answer is since I was 6. Or
Okay.
Do you mean like
anything? Like, cause so like for me, like 3 times in a hospital, right? So it's like three
yeah.
times, yeah.
That's what I figured. I mean, like, we pretty much get our first therapist when we're like, we can talk.
Jews, yeah.
The second that we're able to talk.
I know. They're like, time for a psychiatrist, yeah.
I would say that like the official amount of time, I did 2 weeks in a PHP program and 2 weeks in an IOP program. So I would say a month is probably that.
Yeah. Okay. So like a lot of people don't know. So PHP is partial hospitalization program. Yes. That's more like intense. Like you're not staying there, but you're in and out. And then outpatient is like you go home, but it's just not as intense as PHP.
Yeah. It's just like 2 hours.
And then you said, were you ever in a hospital? Hospitalized?
For about 6 hours.
Right. Okay, I knew this. Me and Nomi are close. So I just didn't know like the process, because some people like get hospitalized and then they leave soon or whatever. So why don't you like go into, and I know you're pretty open, so like also on this podcast, whatever you want to talk about, you don't have to talk about, and vice versa. Like, okay. So why don't you go into like what led up to it, and then how you got like transferred to a PHP program and then IOP, and kind of how that works.
Yeah, for sure. I guess like the day that led up to it, it was just overall I was having kind of a weird day. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know what like anxiety symptoms looked like in myself because I hadn't actually been diagnosed yet.
Okay.
So I was just having a super weird day. I was actually in the city with my sister, and we got into like a small car accident on our way back from being at school with her. And then on my way home, I was kind of just having like what I didn't know at the time was a panic attack. Mm-hmm. And I was like crying while I was driving, and I was like, why am I crying?
Right.
And so I was freaking out. Mm-hmm. And then when I got home, I went through probably one of the most unexpected and rough breakups that I've ever been through.
Oh, no.
Like within about 10 minutes of me getting home.
So you had the panic attack prior to the breakup? Yeah. Okay,
he was supposed to come over for dinner, and I called him, and I was like in tears in the car. And I was like, I'm freaking out. I don't know why. I'm so sorry. Like, I'll see you soon. He was like, okay, I'm on my way over right now. And then that was it.
And then he came over and broke up with you? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's like bad timing. So that's kind of good that you guys.
Like the perfect storm of horrible things happening in one day. And like the two of us are totally fine now.
Yeah, but I think it's like it's not like a respect thing, but it's almost like a courtesy thing where if somebody tells you they're having a panic attack, maybe you wait a day or two to break up with them.
I mean, I understood. Because it was like I think it was winter break or something. Mm-hmm. No, it was right when we had gotten home for summer break.
Okay.
And so we lived like a half hour away from each other.
Okay.
So he was just coming over on, I think it was like a Friday or something.
Uh-huh.
For dinner. And I understood because, like, honestly, if he didn't do it then, like, it would have been dragged out for a while, and I don't think we were both in a place for that, but it was just really rough at the time. Yeah,
and so, like, what was the transition between like you having a panic attack and then you needing to be hospitalized and whatever the fuck, and then going from like that stage to the hospital, and then like kind of like, have you always been like, I know you well, I just wanted to explain to like the audience, like have you always been anxious, like, because I know you have struggled with some things, but I just yeah.
I would say, so like the whole process of like panic attack to me being in the car on the way to the hospital was about 15 minutes.
Wow.
So like the like conversation itself was 5 minutes long, and then he was out the door, and it was just kind of like didn't have anything to say at the time, totally fine. And so I went to my mom's room because she was home, and I just like cried for like 2 minutes, and then I just went quiet. I just got up and I was like, I'm gonna go in my room. And so I walked in my room and I just like laid down on my bed for a little bit, and after about 5 minutes, I got up and I walked out of the hallway, and I like didn't really know what I was doing or like why I was doing that. And my mom was already in the hallway, and she just looks at me and she goes, do you need to go to the hospital? And I was like, yeah, probably. She goes, you want to die? And I went, yeah, a little bit. She goes, all right, pack a bag, get your stuff. I went through this with your sister when she was 17. Get in the car. We're going to the hospital.
No way.
Yeah, she was so chill about it.
So she, like, knew. Did you know, though, like, what kind of behavior were you exhibiting that she was like, you need to go to the hospital? Did she know that it was just, like, you were crying and kind of, like, flustered, or, like, what happened?
I think she just assumed that it's a thing with the women in our family, that it's when we have, like, mental breakdowns like that.
Yeah. It's just, like, you need professional help.
Yeah, she was, like, probably a safe bet for us to just go.
Right, and, like, get some help and stuff, and, like, honestly, like, I feel like that's the difference between, like, a lot of Jewish families and, like, non-Jewish families, where it's, like, you're, like you said, like, you're kind of born into this idea that, like, we know people who could help us, like, psychiatrists and all that stuff. Like, I have, like, a family psychiatrist and stuff, and, like, it's not, like, when I ask other people if they've been to therapy, they're like, oh, no. Like, it's not, I'm like, oh, it doesn't compute? I feel like I'm like, no, compute. Like, I just don't understand.
Like, what do you mean, no?
Right. Like, then where do you go? You go to your, like,
what
fucking
did you get for
pediatrician?
Your
Yeah. Exactly. So, like, that's, I feel like, really hard, and, like, also probably made it, for me, like, me to understand, but I think it's more comforting for you to have that, because not only, like, were you in a bad place, but at least you had your mom who was like, okay, let's just get some help, who didn't make it, it was normalized.
Yeah, I was so confused with how chill she was, and I said that, like, several times in the car on the way there. I was like, why are you so chill?
Do you disassociate?
At the time, in that situation, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that since.
Okay, because I was asking just because that's, like, my main issue with panic attacks is I disassociate, and then I also get, like, numb, and then I go mute. And that's what you said when you got really quiet. When I was about to leave for Denver, and I, like, stopped, and about to get on this bus to get trained to get to the airport, my mom was there, like, saying bye to me, and I just went mute, and I didn't say anything, and I didn't get on the train. And it's because, like, you almost feel like the world's frozen, because you can't move. You're like, well, if I go here, then this is going to be a disaster. And then if I go back, that's also going to be a disaster. So the only thing to do is just fucking do nothing.
Yeah, just, like, stay there. Like,
exactly. And it's not even that. I think it's just the analytical portion of it. The reality of it is that just seems like the only thing to do. It's a subconscious thing where you're like, oh, I have to be mute.
I had no idea what to do.
Mm-hmm. And then once you got there, what was that process like?
My mom was like, sit down. Like, put me in, like, one of the chairs in the waiting room. She's like, my daughter's suicidal. And I was like, I mean, like, obviously that's not what she said, but she was like, my daughter needs help.
I know your mom, too, and she's just like, just fucking help her.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, what do you need?
Right.
They're like, my daughter wants to die.
Oh, yeah.
Or my mom said it, but she was so chill about it. I'm like, shouldn't you be, like, upset?
Yeah. She's like, my daughter wants, can you just get rid of her for a week? I just need, like, some breaks, like.
Well, I think it was, like, I understood, like, because, like, now I know, because the thing that I've learned through all this is that so many people have those moments, and it's just whether or not you kind of get to the place that you need to go at the time. It's like whether or not you get the help that you need.
Right, and I think, like, so when you, absolutely, but I also think, like, I just kind of want to know, like, what was the process of, why were you only there for 6 hours? Okay. Like, what happened?
Okay, well, the short answer to that is I was being an asshole.
Okay.
But
which, like, we all have been.
But the story itself is... so you know the drill, like, when you're a health risk to yourself, when they put you in the room, and then there's, like, a guard outside?
Yeah.
So they put, like, this officer outside, and he must have been in his early 20s. And he was just standing there. And so I went back and forth from, like, crying for a few seconds to being an asshole. To either, like, not, like, just outwardly, my mom was, like, outside the room because I didn't want her in there. And so the guard would just be standing there, like, eating a sandwich or something, and I'd be like, so do I look nuts to you?
Yeah.
Like, is this crazy? But
I think, to be honest, though, like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, like, to be honest, when you're going through something like that, you feel so, like, victimized almost, like you're this crazy animal that, like, needs to be fucking caged, which you are, because there's a guard standing outside waiting for you. And so, like, I have asked that too, like, similar questions are, like, alluded to it, where I'm like, am I nuts? Like, am I crazy? And they're like, well, you just need help. And it's like, that's what you say to a fucking crazy person. Exactly. Tell me if I'm fucking crazy.
That's what I say.
Yeah, and so, like, that's not being an asshole, that's also just being like, what did he say? Like, what did he say? Do you remember?
That's not when I was being an asshole, that's how it started, though.
Oh, okay, so I've got to buckle in here.
Okay. Well, so he was just like, I've seen much worse.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. Because I just didn't want to be weird with the whole crying and then going silent and then being like, can you just let me go to bed?
Right.
And, like, yelling stuff like that.
Right.
And then finally, like, they brought in the social worker, and something that I've learned now is, like, a very routine thing is, like, they go through, like, it's like, how are you feeling? Do you have a plan? That's the question. Do you have a plan? And so, the reason they didn't admit me is because, no, I didn't have a plan. But you know what I said?
What?
They said, do you have a plan? I went, do you mean, do I know what kills people? Do I know how people die? Yeah, I know how people
You're
die.
like, I have actually multiple plans. It's called Wikipedia.
Yeah, I was like, I know how people die. People can take pills. That'll kill you. People can jump off things. That'll kill you too.
Yeah.
And I just listed a bunch of stuff.
And then what?
And then they were like,
they're probably
so,
just being
like,
an
do you have a
asshole.
plan? And I was like, no, I haven't picked one.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And so they're like, sign this release. As long as you say you're going to go into this PHP program, you're fine. So I was like, okay.
Okay. So like in that moment though, like were you were happy though, right?
I was just like, I didn't even know. I was like, if this thing is going to help me, then sure. I was like, because I don't even know.
So you wanted help?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay. And it was mostly like, you had the panic attack and obviously the breakup is like what put it over the edge, but like what's the underlying issue though? Is it anxiety?
I mean, yeah, what I found out later is generalized anxiety mixed with major depressive disorder.
Okay, that's what I have.
Yeah.
Also OCD, but like, yeah, that's what I have.
No, yeah. My official diagnoses, according to the DSM-5,
yeah,
ADHD combined subtype, according to 2 different psychiatrists.
Oh, really?
One said inattentive, one said hyperactive, so they're just like, I'll just put it together.
Put it together, yeah.
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
Mm-hmm.
I already said ADHD. Anxiety and major depressive. So those are my official diagnoses.
That's like, and I'd be like, that's me, but that's me. I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was in 6th grade, and then I kind of like, I don't think I have it, I think it's just anxiety. So my is like major MDD, anxiety, OCD, and like eating disorder, but like that was all as a result of OCD.
Yeah.
So, and I remember seeing you when you were like in the throes of like not eating and like kind of it getting to you a little bit. So like I remember
that was that summer. I remember that.
Yeah. So like, I just wanted to, and not to like mention anything you don't want to talk about. I just remember like how that affected you, and that's how I deal with stress too, is I don't eat. So
you're completely right, and it wasn't even just like I was like I'm not gonna eat. It was just like I don't think I moved for a week, like in my bed. Like I was just there, and my sister came to visit me, and she like brought
at
her
U of I or
laptop.
at Chicago.
I was home because we had just gotten home from break. So I was sitting in my bed, and I was gonna do Cutco for another summer.
Okay.
And
if anybody wants to know, Cutco is a pyramid scheme, guys.
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm kidding.
It's just multi-level marketing.
This is semantics. It's another way of saying a pyramid scheme, but anyways, go ahead. Sorry, Vector Marketing Corporation, that's also on my resume and helped me get my job now. Thanks. Okay. I actually love that job a lot.
No, it helped so much.
Yeah. It was fun. That's how we kind of got close. Like we were friends of water polo, but you like helped me get the job. So when you like were in the PHP program though, like did anything in that PHP program? So the program that you went to for PHP, was that the program that you transitioned into IOP from?
Yes.
Okay, so you've been to like one program. And
I've been through one program.
And did that help you?
Not in the way that you'd expect.
Okay.
I think the biggest part of what I got out of PHP and IOP was it gave me perspective.
Okay.
100% perspective.
Yeah, that's how I felt a lot of times.
So like the first, I met a lot of people that like, I kind of wish I still talked to. I ran into someone from my PHP group at like the grocery store near my apartment about 3 days ago. And she was just like, oh, hey, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. And it was like 2 a.m. and I had just come back from a run.
That's so fun.
Because I have weird work hours.
Yeah.
So
right. Okay. I was like, damn.
Yeah,
that's
and
crazy.
so I was like, I'm just gonna.
Yeah. So isn't it weird though running into people though? Because I've run into people,
Yeah.
or like people have messaged me on Facebook being like, how are you? And I'm like, I don't even remember you. Like, not like remember you, but I'm like, holy shit. It like takes you back into that moment. So it helped you not in the way. So, and what type of perspective did it give you?
Like, I don't think I really talked for the first 2 days in any of the group therapy sessions. I kind of just listened. And apparently that's how everyone is, or most people.
And then did you slowly start talking?
And I kind of I opened up about things. And like honestly, the group helped me a lot kind of figure out how to deal with certain situations. And I'd be like, I'm gonna encounter this situation this weekend, like What should I do?
Okay, so it was like kind of like real life advice because we didn't really go over that. I did a little bit, but it was more like I feel like I was in a bubble in terms of diving, so like it wasn't.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like, but the perspective thing was when I would sit down like and listen, the things that like you could hear them vocalizing, like other people just vocalizing their coping mechanisms and like their negative coping mechanisms, and they were destructive, to say the least. And it's not that mine wasn't.
Yeah, but yeah, okay.
Because my main thing was I would isolate.
Okay.
I would not talk to people. I would just stay in my room.
And and that's easy to do, especially when you have depression. And also, it's a form of self-protection because if I don't have to go out, I don't have to deal with any of my anxiety. Yeah. And then if I don't go out, I don't have to deal with anything that comes towards me. Nobody can hurt me if I'm alone.
Yep. And I think the problem with that was I didn't even realize that I was anxious or depressed.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know that was something I was dealing with until I saw a psychiatrist in the PHP program. So that was the first time.
So when you went, like, for, like, before when you went to the hospital, like, what did you think it was? Were you just like, I'm having a mental breakdown? Like, what was going on?
To be completely honest, I don't think I had any idea what was going on. I don't think that even occurred to me at the time.
So, and that's something that, like, I feel like should be stressed, because I'm thinking about this now. Like, I also, now I know everything. I know what's going on. I'm like, this is my OCD brain, this is my anxiety brain, this is my depression. Like, I know, but, like, before, I always knew I had anxiety, but I never knew how to catch myself, and I think therapy teaches you that, so now you probably know how to do that. But give an example to, like, people who don't know, like, because this is, like, really important to stress, of, like, a time that you, like, didn't know, like, an anxious behavior you had prior to knowing you had anxiety, and then now doing something similar, but, like, you catching it. You know what I mean? If you can think of one.
100%.
Okay.
I actually might...
Because it's very, like, undiagnosed.
Oh, 100%.
It's also overdiagnosed, but it's also, like, a lot of people who don't know they have anxiety, and then they don't get the treatment they need because they just think it's how their brain works. And it's like, yeah, it is, but you can also make it better.
I think some of the symptoms that I didn't realize were kind of part of the connected anxiety OCD were the ones that I see more now. One of, like, my thing is, I don't know why, but, like, cleanliness and fabric.
Okay.
For whatever reason. So if I wear something, even if I just put it on, like, if I'm trying it on and I decide to wear something else, I can't wear it again. I have to wash it.
Okay, so that's a little OCD.
Yeah, that's like
the compulsion.
One of the main things. That's my compulsion, is that it's really difficult for me to wear something more than once. Because I'm just like, I don't know what it touched. I don't know what I touched if I didn't shower.
Is it a sick thing?
No. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, it's cause recently I've been if I sweat remotely in anything, I'll wash it. Yep. And it's not even like a sick thing, because I'm actually the least thing from a germaphobe. I'll share a drink with anybody. I don't give a shit. It's more dirty. Am I dirty? Like, if I showered and I'm putting on something I wore a week ago, but I wore it for an hour, exactly. Why am I putting it on again? Why can't I just wash it? I get it. But that's excessive, though. Like, you're saying it's excessive.
Yeah,
but are you saying before you were like that and you didn't realize that was an issue, and now you're like that and you realize it's an issue?
Yes.
And do you ever do anything to, like, make that better? Or, like, okay, so what do you do?
My roommate is actually really, really, like, good about kind of helping me with stuff like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know. He's wonderful, and, like, just, I'll tell him, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm spending all my money on laundry because I can't wear my clothes more than once. And he's like, how about you just wear your jeans 2 days in a row?
Okay, so he gives you, like, an item to, like...
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And so, like, 2 weeks later, I was like, I just wore my jeans 2 days in a row. I did it. He was like, nice job.
Oh, that's so nice. So he, like, doesn't make it a big deal, and he's not like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. But, like, he's like, good job.
Yeah.
I like that, too, though. Because it's not like they're making it, like,
It's, like, it's a tangible goal that's...
Yeah. So that's, like, an example. I was thinking, too, like, do you think you were born with anxiety, or do you think, like... Or, like, what do you think what's your... Because I can say, like, for you, because I've, like... We were on the same water polo team for, like, 3 years.
Yeah. And
it's such an intimate sport because you're practicing morning and night, and then we also, like, would hang out after meets and eat a shit ton. And complain and, like, and also, like, bond. It was just, like, the complaining was a bonding experience, honestly. Like, it was a way to, like, cope. And so, like, I feel like, especially, like, I'm sure you can say about me, like, for me, I've noticed in you, like, I think your thing is, like, I'd say, like, your underlying issue would probably honestly just be, like, anxiety.
Yeah.
And, like, worrying about the future. Because I remember we would, like, go to water polo, and then you'd be like, well, I'm worried about this meet this weekend because of this thing that's set up for this person to do well, and then I'm not. Like, it was just, like, very, like, it was always, like, thinking about, like, the future and not, like, oh, like, let me just do well in practice today so that won't be a problem.
Yeah.
It's very, like...
I was very much a forward thinker of, like,
yeah,
what am I doing right now, and how is it going to affect something that's supposed to happen there based off of all these other things that happened. And so it was just getting a lot, like, in the way. And
so, like, obviously you're probably like that now, but, like, what do you do to cope with that? Because everyone with anxiety is usually a forward thinker. That's, like, thinker.
Oh, yeah.
And they say anxiety is people who are anxious about the future, depression is the past, and then there's, like, something and bliss is in the moment.
Happens.
Some fucking thing. Yeah.
Honestly, I think that it's gotten, like, my anxiety itself has gotten so much better.
Good.
And I think it's just more of coming to a realization that, like, there's a lot of stuff I can't control, and that's a really hard thing to accept. But it kind of has to happen at a certain point, because a whole bunch of stuff, like, everyone goes through that time in life where they're like, okay, so a bunch of stuff is happening, and then something else happens, and then something else happens. You're like, okay, it's not funny anymore. This can stop.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps, like, things keep hitting.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, I was like, if I just keep getting more miserable, I'm never going to get anything done.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no, like, safety net. There's nothing for me to fall back on. So I was like, you have to get your ass out of bed, get a job. This is, like, right when I was graduating.
Okay.
I was like,
you graduated early, right?
Yes.
It's fucking insane, dude. That's amazing.
I was just like, you need to get yourself something to do.
Yeah.
Like, so you can get out of bed and make sure you're doing that. And then that's, honestly, since I started working full-time, that...
And so, like, what... And that's more, like, realistic picture. I just want to ask, because I know you well, and I can ask you these questions, like, without feeling weird. But, because I usually, like... not, like, service level with most people, but, like, I can go deeper with you. Like, what are some, like, day-to-day examples? Because we always talk about, like, there are things out of my control, but it's, like, what specifically now... are you working on with things that, like, if something was out of your control, like, today, like, what do you do to cope with that? Like, can you give an example of, like, today? Like, I can give one. I just thinking of, like, not about you, I'm saying about me, but I'm saying, like, are there any situations, like, today that you've encountered that you could be like, oh, this is, like, what I do to cope with that? The forward-thinking thing,
this morning, like, before I got on the train to come to Chicago, I was looking through my socks, and I was like, are you serious? There is not a single pair of matching socks in here? Oh, really? No. And so I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. I'll just wear these, like, I'll wear the short ones. I don't have to look at them. But then I did find a matching pair of socks, and I'm wearing them right now.
Okay.
Awesome. But, like, it...
Yeah.
And somehow, also, I had these, like, little, like, gloves, like, knit gloves. I had 5 of them. None of them were the same color. I was like, how? How did this happen?
And it's like your brain just, like, explodes.
I was just like, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm not going to wear 2 that are the same color. And so I was like, of course this is...
And then it already makes it more stressful before you're leaving to come, like, an hour or two away.
I was like, whatever.
Yeah. I
was like, I'm just... Not necessary right now. Doesn't need to happen. I'll figure it out.
Same thing happened to me this morning. I like this, like, these, like, Nike high socks, and my boyfriend wears them, so I, like, keep them at my house. And sometimes my roommate borrows them, and then I didn't find any this morning, and my roommate was, like, kind of sick this morning, so I was like, do you have my socks? And she's like, no. And I was like, I don't want to pry you because, like, you're sick and I don't want to bother you. And then I was like, you know what? Nobody gives a shit about my fucking socks. Nobody cares about my socks. Just put them on and go to work. And that's what I did. And I'm fine. I'll look for them later probably. but like, you know, it really doesn't matter. And that's what you have to come down to is like, is anybody looking at my socks? And if they are, why the fuck would I care?
Yep.
You know, and I think it's more just that's the stuff that's in your control. And when the little stuff that's in your control, like what you wear and what you eat, is out of your control, it gets a little dicey. Yep. It gets a little like, I'm anxious, I'm going to blow up type of thing. Were you anxious when you were young at all?
I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
Okay.
I honestly don't even think that the anxiety, like, or at least not something that I recognize as anxiety. I don't really think it hit till late high school.
Yeah.
And then even then it wasn't, like, fully recognized.
Yeah, I had, like, anxiety when I was, like, 4, so, like, I just, like, I remember stuff like that, so I just didn't know, like, if that's something that you kind of, like, had. And do you think, like, your depression is a result of your OCD and anxiety, or do you think it's, like, separate, or what?
I think that's definitely separate. Just because it's, like, it's one of the textbook cases of, like, why are you sad? I don't know. If I knew, probably wouldn't be sad anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because, like, I feel like we're all different and, like, our forms of depression are different as we age, too. Like, I feel like my depression, like, you saw it when I was in high school and, like, how it affected me and, like, water polo and stuff and like, me and our other friend, short little one. Yeah. You know, and they're coming on the podcast soon, probably. I just don't want to say her name because I don't want to, whatever. Love her to death. But I like, we had very similar anxiety and depression issues, and, like, that affected us so much in the water polo season. And I just didn't know if, like, it's so, my depression's so different from then than it is now, you know? Yeah. And I was just wondering if, like, is that changed for you at all? Like, from, like, the way your anxiety presented at high school than it did in college? Because it clearly got more intense when you were in college, you know?
I don't know. I think it just kind of peaked.
Okay.
I think it was just the amount of pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
Because in high school, it wasn't, I didn't have to worry about paying for anything. Like, it's not, like, it was, if I wanted to go out for, like, you know, like, the crappy Jersey sub, not Jersey sub, was it Jersey subs?
Jersey Mike's. Don't shit on Jersey Mike's.
No, Jersey subs on Deerfield Road.
Oh, they might have a, oh my god, yeah, they do have a Jersey subs, and is it not Jersey Mike's?
No.
Okay, well, anyways.
The fries were bad. That's
what's the Tony subs?
Oh, Tony's.
Oh my god, that's the place where all the kids used to smoke weed behind.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Next to that gas station. You're like, I don't think I know anything. I'm not in the loop.
Well, you remember in high school, I was like, did someone just say weed? Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, that's how I was too. And then now I, like, smoke every night. But anyways, so I was just wondering, like, if it presented differently. But you said the pressure is different. So, like, what does that look like for you now?
I mean, the pressure at this point is, like, I'm financially independent, basically.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's awesome.
I mean, obviously, like, there are times where I'll have to be like, Mom, can you please help me co-sign this loan?
Yeah.
And whether or not the answer is yes, I can help for yes, but, like, nothing's guaranteed.
And how do you deal with that, though?
Depends.
Like, I don't want to, like, interrogate you. I'm just, like, a lot of times I, like, ask people questions so that, like, other people can relate to, like, that specific thing. Like, I just don't want you to feel like that.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay.
I would probably say, like, there are times when it gets really, really stressful, and I think that's, like, when I get to the peak of me being anxious. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to pay off my credit card? Mm-hmm. Like, right now, when I don't have this, and payday's not until next week, so, like, what do I do? And I'm just like... And, like, that's when my roommate comes in, like, so he's like, put it on your credit card and chill.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like you're not going to get the money. It's
right. It's the waiting.
It's like the fact that you're so anxious makes sure that you don't spend money that you don't have. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have it. You're going to be fine. It's just like, it's just the timing's not lining up. So I just, like, try to remember I will have, like, it's not like I don't have a source of income. Mm-hmm. And it's not like I don't have a plan for this. It's just right now things don't line up.
Okay.
So it's kind of just taking a second to, like, remember, like,
I'm
going to make this happen.
That, like, you have to live in the moment almost.
Yeah.
And that, like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. We were back from break. Very, very nice break. And I didn't get any more wine. That's okay. I can wait. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you since we played water polo together and, like, trained and stuff like that and played, like... Did you ever do masters with me? With Becca and Nicole?
I think, like, once.
Okay. I got my... crotch touched too many times with 50-year-old men and then I tapped out. But yeah, dude, it was fun.
I definitely went to, like, at least one.
Mm-hmm. It was actually kind of fun. It just, like, it was too uncomfortable for me.
Understandable.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about, especially because, like, you were a really good athlete, like, how did your mental health, like, affect... I can even speak for you because I remember a lot of stuff about, like, season and stuff, how it affected the sport and then how the sport affected your mental health.
Now that I think about it, the pre-game anxiety was so bad.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I just remember the time that you and Becca got me Taco Bell right before a game.
Did we really?
I binge ate it in the office. Like, I think I ate 3 Doritos Locos Tacos in, like, 2 minutes. And then I played water polo for an hour.
Wow, I am a really good captain. I guess I did get you Taco Bell.
You and Becca were like, here.
Oh my god, no way. Okay, I remember... A lot of us had mental health issues. Like, and not in like a we were crazy, but like a lot of us struggled with like pre-game anxiety, post-game anxiety, how the post-game leads to the next game, and just like wanting to build a strong team, which was like really struggling.
I mean,
the year.
To be fair, we did get yelled at a lot about not being able to do that.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So like, it was hard, and like I just remember like one game. It was, I don't remember which pool it is, but I remember having a picture from it. It was, like, one of the best games we ever played. We won. And, like, me and you, like, were doing a ton of, like, assists and stuff like that. And I watched you. It just has nothing to do with mental health. But I watched you score, like, one goal. I still have it on camera because I have, like, this montage that I made.
Are you talking about the video from Maine South? Mm-hmm. I have that on my phone.
No, you don't.
From when you sent it to me?
The 20-minute video? That's, like, a montage?
20-minute video?
The montage that I made. I made it for, like, the senior year, like, my senior year.
There was a DVD there, right?
Yeah. I don't
I have that, but I have, like, the video.
Thank God, I thought it was
like.
Oh, okay. Okay, so anyways, you were, here's what I was getting to, is that you were, like, incredible at water polo, and, like, you were so hard on yourself, and, like, that's okay. Most people are. I'm fucking hard on myself, too. But, like, there were some times where, like, that video of you making that goal, I literally turned around, I got chills, and I was like, that's literally certifiably insane. Like, I just didn't understand it. And then you would just be like, you're like, I'm still not fucking good, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I, like, just want to tell you that, because, like, I think, and then it was hard watching people struggle with those issues, and I just wanted to know, like, how that affected you. Like, what goes through your mind when you're like, I made that goal, but, like, I suck?
I feel like looking back at it now.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it seems really silly to be like,
yep,
I'm shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I think it was just kind of, one, I was super jealous of Catherine. Mm-hmm. I mean, always.
Yeah.
Like, 4 years of high school.
Shout out to Catherine. She's a great girl. I love her.
She was just like, she was on another level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those
situations. But you had the arm of a gorilla, dude. Like, I just remember there was, like, times when you'd be super mad about situations, and you'd be at half court in the fucking water and just, like, nail it into the goal. And I'm like, what? Like a monster, dude.
But then I get yelled at. You're like, don't make
Yeah. And you're like, well, sorry I made the fucking goal, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Do you remember
we got beat up together a lot.
The Hersey game where I was at half tank, and I just whipped it behind me, and it went in, and he was so mad. He was like, Nomi, stop.
Yeah, and you're like, what the fuck?
I was like,
but you made it. If you tried to make it and didn't make it, that's different. But it's just like, I think it was hard for you because it was like, continue. What was like going through your mind when you're like hard on yourself, but you still like killed at it?
I don't even think it occurred to me that I was like as good as kind of like looking back I like recognize, because it just, I guess it was a self-confidence thing where I was like, it didn't occur to me, where I was like, well, I don't really think I'm that good. So I think I convinced myself that.
Okay.
And looking back, like now that things are a lot different.
Yeah. With
how I feel about myself, like in high school and in general. Like I was like, yeah, no, I was pretty good at the sport.
Yeah.
But back then, I guess I like kind of spent a lot of time and effort.
You're in it so hard. You're like so wrapped into it with like the coaches and the teammates and the games and like the parents and like. The funniest thing about water polo was that every single person on the water polo team had divorced parents. So it was literally like the seating was like this. Literally, it was like mom's over here, dad's over here, like middle section to breathe. You know, it was just like insane.
And then the step parents are hiding from the
action. Yeah. Dude, it was so crazy. And like, it's just so interesting, like what drew us to that sport, especially like I got a ton of anger out and that helped me with my anger. But then I remember like there were times where I remember some people, people would, you know, I found it interesting how much our coach supported mental health.
Yeah.
Because he really was, like, he understood my anxiety and, like, OCD and, like, my anger issues. Like, I almost got, did you ever get red carded from a game?
No, I think I got a warning once.
I got a yellow card for, like, pushing people down. But it wasn't on purpose. It was just, like, to get over them to shoot the ball. But I just, like, couldn't.
That's on purpose.
Yeah. But, no, the pushing. Pushing.
Oh.
It wasn't like drowning people. It was just like I was just pushing.
You would always get like kickouts for swimming over people's backs.
Yeah.
And every single time you're like, they were in the way. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah, I was like, what am I supposed to do? Fucking leave him there? No, you fucking push him. Yeah. Like it's very interesting. But I want to know like now looking back at it, like, does anything from that time, from being so hard on yourself at something you were really good at, apply to now and how you deal with, like, being, like you said, like, you were incredible at the sport, but you, like, thought you were bad because you weren't what your ideal self was, right? So now, is there anything that, like, translates to now where you're like, oh, maybe I should, like, appreciate what I have now and, like, see myself as good? Because maybe later I'll appreciate, you know what I'm saying? Like, how good I was at something. Like, is there anything now?
I think I can definitely recognize a lot of the things that, like, I see myself being good at, or, like, something being, like, central in my life. Some of them, like, aren't as big as others. Like, I play Halo competitively.
Yeah. You've always been a gamer.
But, like, I never had an Xbox.
Yeah.
I would just play, like...
Nintendo. Were you, like, into Nintendo?
I had a laptop. I had a gaming laptop.
Yeah, you always... My boyfriend has one of those. They're like 90 pounds.
It was gigantic.
Yeah.
So it was hard to even bring places.
Yeah.
But, it was literally, like, my sophomore year of college. I got an Xbox One, and I started playing Halo, like, by myself, actually. And
really?
I started, like, playing and doing
Killing
tournaments.
That's so
like,
funny.
Wow, it's really fun to be good at something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's, like, it's really fun to be, like, that good at something. I don't think I'm as good at other things right now than I am at Halo, which is, like, fine. That's fine. I don't need to be.
Yeah.
But, like, I definitely see that, even though I am, like, critical of myself sometimes, that, like, I'm doing a better job. It's, like, even at my job, like, a lot of nights I come home and I'm like, what could I have done differently? Like, what can I be doing differently? Like, is there more? And
especially when you're dealing with people.
Yeah.
You tell people what you are. People don't.
I'm a social worker.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, I do. And, like, obviously it's stressful, but it's just because you spend a lot of your energy trying to make sure that other people, like, are going to be okay and get through stuff, and, like, at the end of the day, there's not everything is under your control.
And it's, like, about letting go and...
Yeah. So it's kind of just...
Yeah.
Letting that go and accepting that I can't control everything, but I'm doing a lot better job than I give myself credit for sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you're amazing. And thanks for coming on the pod.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, of course.
Where can people find you besides, like, physically, like, Instagram, Halo? Do you have, like, a username or something? I'm so unfamiliar with the gaming world, dude.
I'll give my Instagram.
Okay.
My Instagram is nwillis13.
Okay, and what's your Finstagram's hilarious.
My Finsta?
Yeah. Don't you still use it or no?
I do, actually.
Okay.
I should post more. My Finsta is for those of you that know me.
Yeah, and your name's Nomi, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and it's
okay.
just, separated by spaces.
Yeah. Okay. Please don't forget. Please tell them to subscribe.
Please subscribe. Subscribe.
Please subscribe, rate, and review. Thanks, and thank you for watching Doing Time.
Oh my.
How do you feel?